Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the full moon in Leo taking place on January 25th, 2024 at 12:53 p.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. Welcome back for our second lunar update for the year. A couple of quick announcements and some questions for you. The February calendar is open if you'd like to book a Valentine's Day reading, look at love for the new year, and the best dates and timings for love in your chart, especially since some of the best dates in love for everyone will happen before June of this year. This is a perfect time to book now. We're also fast approaching our first eclipse of the year on March 24th, 2024. So if you'd like to have a look at eclipse dates for the year, now's a great time to dive in. You can find me over at kmoonastro.com to set up your session. And secondly, here's a cue for you. Now, in the last video underneath and in the description box, I added some timestamps, but I'm curious if you guys actually use them. Maybe you can let me know in the comments. I'm specifically curious about usage. I know the last time I asked, several people commented, oh, they're nice to have, but didn't really say if they actually used them or not. I'm curious about usage and non-usage, mainly because I'm starting to wonder if I should only cover the full moon energy and examples of application rather than all the extra energies I cover at each lunation, given how lengthy the videos are. So I guess that's my second question for you guys. If you listen all in one go, or if you listen to some and then come back at in different time frames, or if you find yourself wishing the lunar updates were shorter, I don't know. I'm thinking about changing some stuff up. I can always move the added energies to a second video a week later and publish the lunar update a week earlier so that both videos are out before the actual date of the lunation. Curious what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section. I don't always get a chance to respond to every single comment, but I do read and see them all. So let's get into the full moon. Our full moon is at this 5th degree of Leo. And speaking, lots of conversations going on here that are juicy. We've got a square to Jupiter here in Taurus. We've got a square to the creation goddess here in Scorpio. We also have an opposition to Pluto, who has finally moved into Aquarius, and a loose sextile to the shaman's asteroid here in Libra, Make Make there. We have an opposition to Chariklo as well, who's conjunct the sun there in Aquarius, and a very loose trine to Chiron here. Y'all, this is not a standard full moon. This is a very special one because this is our first full moon as Pluto moves into Aquarius for a 20-year stay. The actual date of the movement will be January 20th, and unfolded with a conjunction of the sun and Pluto at that 0 degree mark of Aquarius. It is significant that the sun and Pluto ushered in this energy together, especially since they both color this full moon so intensely. The sun is bringing illumination to all of the things hidden, kept in secret, or needing transformation right now, exposing things that may have been repressed. And Pluto is restoring power where power may have been usurped, denied, or even abdicated in our own lives. In the last 90 days and the last 30 in particular, you may have noticed in your life and in the world or in the lives of people around you, things have come to light, or where there was stagnation, there may have been movement that was designed to help you get your power back, even though that movement may have been jarring, upsetting, or a little disruption to your status quo if you're used to or got yourself habituated to disempowerment. In particular, for those of us dealing with institutions of any kind, and we all are the government, legal entities, or the law, corporate entities and businesses, establishments of any kind, educational institutions, healthcare institutions. Things may have come to a head in a way that is forcing your hand, demanding that you pick up your power. And we'll talk more about this in other videos, but the number one thing that is important to share about it at this time is that whatever's ending wasn't actually taken from you. But liberation and true freedom, all the things that Aquarius governs, quantum leaps forward and consciousness and lifestyle, this is going to be something we're needing to create for ourselves. It will not be handed to us. All the things that are happening now are actually for our benefit, not our detriment. But we're going to have to choose to see it this way, to experience it this way. You can call it a loss or you can call it a lesson, but what you call it will dictate what you experience next. So be mindful. Okay, we'll talk more about Pluto changing signs, including the last time he changed signs in 2008. And we all remember the global financial crisis. The last time Pluto was in Aquarius 248 years ago, that was significant, especially if you're a United States citizen. And what to expect now. We'll do all of that soon on this channel. So if you're new, hello, welcome. Love to have you. If you're hearing something that resonates, definitely subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you're the first to know when new videos come out at the new and full moon this year. Let's get back to this full moon. The Jupiter square here will help us get in touch with our emotions more fully, which for some will be very clarifying and for others overwhelming, depending on your relationship to emotions. Jupiter in Taurus just wants to feel good, and the moon in Leo down here wants to feel sovereign, capable, like it can create. But these two things are at a challenging angle, that square, which means that some of what it's going to take to exercise our divine birthright to create our future at this time may be a little uncomfortable, and trying too hard to stay comfortable no matter what may undermine our sovereignty, independence, and divine co-creatorship. We will need to find the pleasure in doing hard things at this time. And we will need to use any discomfort we may be experiencing to fuel our creativity and empowerment. So there's this channel on YouTube that I really love of a mother and her daughters who came into social media fame during the pandemic. During lockdown, they started making dance videos together, and her catchphrase is, "What's the best that can happen?" During a very uncomfortable time for all of us worldwide, she found what brought her some form of creativity and allowed her to experience her sovereignty and power and the control she did have over her body and her movement at a time when movement and what we could do with our bodies was very restricted. This is the invitation of this moment in time for all of us. Her name is Marie Bustin Moves. I'll link her channel down below so you can add some creativity and some fun movement to your subscription feed for inspiration. But that's the question we have to be willing to ask ourselves as some of this more challenging energy that comes to a head as we get into mid-February begins to initiate now. Well, what's the best that can happen? This is our focus with this combination of energy. And to further highlight the point, we also have a square, like I said, to the creation goddess Haumea. This opens up a similar challenge in that Haumea in Scorpio actually looks to expand through shadow work. She wants to hole up in the creative cocoon, delve into the alchemy of sex magic and shape shifting, lead to gold, water to wine, moving into a new birth after something has ended. Scorpio deals with what we call other people's money as well. So some of you may get investments, grants, loans, credit at this time in the third dimension as ways of handling some of the challenges that present themselves. Metaphysically speaking, however, creation goddess in Scorpio is a very paradoxical energy. She is life and life giving. Scorpio, in its initiatory energy, is death giving. The part of the scorpionic process that she resonates with the most is the rebirth and resurrection part, but that can only happen if there's been a death or an ending first with Scorpio. So inherent in this is a demand for an ending and then a new beginning. In other words, change. And this marks the beginning, like I said, of some more turbulent energy that we'll see as we get into February. And we'll talk more about it as we go along. But understand that if things are starting to come to a head now, there's real divine purpose in this. There's a new beginning waiting for you. If there's a door shut, it's because a different door is open at this time, and you're supposed to be walking through that one. With Pluto Sun, here we are up here. And creation goddess and Jupiter all facilitating a fixed grand cross, meaning we have planetary occupation in each of the fixed signs and roughly the same degree points. And at the same time that Pluto is changing signs, this constitutes a breaking point, a point of no return, a do it like your life depends on it point in your life's timeline. It's a moment of great consequence for us individually and collectively. But the thing to remember is that this kind of turbulent astrological weather always has purpose. It's meant to move us in places where we've been stuck. It's meant to break us through in places where we've been held down. It's meant to help us let go in places where we've held on too long. So while many of you have been through the ending and let go, much earlier. Y'all did that as soon as the stove got warm. You didn't need it to get hot. And you're already in the rebirth side of this, using the creativity in this at this time, right? You're starting to see a lot of newness and momentum and speed pick up in your life. You're welcome to comment about that down below. Might be great inspiration for people who held on for dear life to relationships, behaviors, emotional patterns, ideas, jobs, financial statuses, houses, cars, whole identities that were just not working for you in the last 14 years of Pluto and Capricorn. This is when the stove moves from warm to hot and from hot to scalding next month. And places a demand rather than an invitation in our space to evolve. Now, again, God's planets are always working for us, not against us. They are always growing us up into our divine creatorship. This is when we'll get fuller illumination on what's at stake and what's the root cause if we've been participating and working against ourselves with our attachments to the kinds of things that I just mentioned. The reason this period is so attachment focused and can be uncomfortable is the number of planetary placements here in fixed signs. Check this out over here, guys. We have 3 modes, and the modes are the way we respond to life. It's the elements: fire, earth, air, water. These are the ways that we process life, but it's the modes that indicate how we respond. Cardinal likes to respond through initiations and new beginnings. Fixed holds down the fort, continuity at any cost. Mutable will bend and flex. It's the shapeshifter. And we need that, all 3 of these responses, to be able to execute life effectively. We need to know when to hold them, when to fold them, when to walk away, and when to run. So the song goes. But with so much energy in fixed signs at a moment like this, it will show us where we are attached to things that must change. Okay. So that we can have something more, something better. When the change is about something we're unattached to, like another new dish on the menu at a restaurant down the street, the shoe store, moving a block away, whether they change the wall colors of the doctor's office from gray to beige, no biggie. We don't even notice. But when the grocery store closest to you closes up, or your favorite show gets canceled, or the teacher your kid finally thrived with transfers to a new school, or the doctor or therapist you trust retires, we start to have feelings about these things. These feelings are based on our attachment to those things being a part of our lives. But then we have moments like this when life starts demanding that we change our entire identity from one of being wounded and weary to one of being successful in work and in love, or to give up the unfulfilling marriage you're only in for the money so you can have financial sovereignty and real love. Or the neighborhood you grew up in has changed to the point where your drinking water or your air is no longer safe for you or your family, and it is beyond time to go. When we have attachment at this level, where the thing is entrenched as a part of our identity, we tend to go to great lengths to avoid change. And astrological weather like this helps us break through in those types of circumstances. I know some of my clients are really struggling with certain addictions. Great momentum here to focus on all the tools and resources and support you need to get sober. Okay, so utilize this in whatever way you can to get out of an identity that's no longer serving. Some of my favorite questions clients are asking right now who are in very difficult situations. They're asking me things like, okay, so here's my situation. How does my chart say that I can use this particular challenge to move forward to my benefit? Where can I go from here? They're asking me, all right, so I get it. This has been about picking up my power. We know Pluto is about power. What's my Pluto and Aquarius theme for the next 20-year cycle? Where is my power? They're asking me, what are my best choices given how things stand? Here's a situation. Here are the external limitations. What are my best choices given this? Knowing the answers to these questions can help you navigate the internal and external upheaval inherent in Pluto changing signs with way more ease. There will be a settling down of this energy. If you recall in 2008, when Pluto changed signs, we had that global financial crisis, the banking crisis. It did take until about 2011 for world markets to settle and stabilize. I anticipate some of the external changes we're about to see initiate this year, get started this year, will also take roughly the same amount of time. However, your path doesn't need to take a full 3 years to level out. If you'd like some support and guidance navigating the changes coming up for you, whether it's branching into new territory in business, home, career, or health, or you're in the midst of a challenge and need to know the best decisions for you, now's the time to book a reading. You can find me over at K-Moon Astro. If you've only got 3 to 4 questions, 30 minutes is more than enough for us to chat. Don't book more than you need. But if you've got 5 or more questions, I encourage you to give yourself a full hour so we can get a full picture of where you need to go next and how all of this ties together into a foundationally new identity for you in this next chapter of your life. Okay. Link to kmoonastro.com is just below this video if you need it. Now, I also mentioned that this full moon has a sextile to the shaman's asteroid Makemake here in the relationship and balance sign of Libra. And this brings in an element of transformation through learning lessons and doing things in new ways in our interactions with people and partners, in particular, since he's in Libra. So there's some recognition of some things we've learned, and we now need to take into consideration in all decisions so that we can stand in our creativity, our creative authority, and our sovereignty. That's Leo. The full moon opposite Chariklo, and here's Chariklo conjunct the sun up here, does indeed bring ancestral, angelic, spirit guided blessings from the divine intercessors on our behalf as long as we ask. It is so important that we remember that God, of whichever faith is your path, And the otherworldly beings love us enough to wait to be invited. One of my meditation teachers said in a class recently, if you didn't invite them, they're not really your guides, they're imposters. Those who work with you and love you will always wait for your invitation. And this full moon is the perfect time to ask all that is to assist you, whether it's showing you the most empowering solution to a problem, bringing a type of investor into your business that you need, removing a roadblock in your career, even just enhancing your reputation with people who can make decisions about your life, giving you favor when you walk into a room. When Chariklo is in the mix, we just need to ask for the support, and it is given. The one thing about Chariklo, you may get your answer in an unexpected format. So it's important to be open to all solutions, not just the one our current level of consciousness believes is the only solution. There could be another way of looking at this. Staying open will be key. I also mentioned that this full moon shares a loose trine to Chiron here in sign of the self Aries. And this is really a big story as part of 2024. The full moon's trine to Chiron in Aries is one of the biggest blessings in an energy of peak transformation because we've got that Chiron basically conjunct the North Node at this point, exposing where we've been wounded, making it clear to us where we've been faking not being wounded and or trying to compensate for that wound by pulling on other areas of our life. This is the moment in time where we get the opportunity to transmute that wound to wisdom. That's a big piece of Chiron's story. This particular Chiron speaking to this particular full moon, it's going to be what allows us to see the wounds for what they were, experiences that happened, that are over, that we don't have to wear like an identity, that we can use to milk the wisdom and move into fuller embracing of who we really are. It's very identity focused in that sign that governs selfhood and identity, Aries. I want to give you a specific example. So I'm going to pull something from my life for just a minute. Y'all know I do not like to bring me into this, but I think this is probably one of the best ways to illustrate it. So a situation came to a head in my life this week that had been chronically problematic since 2018 and a specific type of trauma I went through that year. I knew it was a problem and I was dealing with it in my way, but it was taking time. Let me be clear, I was taking my time, mainly because I wasn't dealing with the root of the problem directly. So, because I was allowing this problem to be a problem for so long, as you can imagine, it caused other problems in other areas of my life, compensations to make up for this wound that wasn't getting addressed. Like when one organ in the body isn't working, others will compensate until they burn out. This was the situation in my life. My life began to signal to me last fall, hey, you can't coast through solving this problem anymore. It needs immediate redirection right now because the consequences of dealing with this at a slower pace are getting louder and louder. This week, more severe consequences of letting that thing drag out for 6 years of my life showed themselves. Now, in my humanity and my ego, I could say, yeah, okay, give yourself a break. You didn't have the resources to solve it then. You do now. Partially true, not all the way. Or you were wounded in XYZ situation from the past, so you have every right to continue to move as slow as you're moving, take the time you need, AKA live wounded, K Moon. You can live wounded. Give yourself permission to live wounded and take your time addressing the issue. But the truth that is inescapable is this: wounded living always begets more wounded living. At some point, we have to put the past down, the wounds down, the story about the wounds down. We have to let go of what happened to us and live in the wisdom of what's happening now. and who we really are in the present. And this is the gift of Chiron at this particular lunation. Wounding and wisdom held together in that one planetary symbol in the sign of the self, Aries, trine this full moon, the sign of sovereignty and creativity, Leo. We get to see where we ourselves have justified a lack of transformation and evolution in our identity, because this full moon is in a fixed sign. It's illuminating the energy within us that wants to stay the same. But under the light of a full moon like this, we can clearly see we're staying the same exacerbates our own wounding. We get to see where we've pointed the finger at other people, the spouse, the past, the kids, the job, the government, the ex, the boyfriend, the girlfriend, even God. Under the light of this full moon, we can no longer say, oh, it's their fault that we're in the position we're in. Because Chiron is in the take action, new beginning, cardinal sign, dealing with selfhood and identity, Aries. He is influencing this full moon, bringing his energy to the full moon in the sign of fixed sovereignty and creativity, Leo. There is liberation at hand through accountability, creativity, empowerment, and ownership of new identities for ourselves. So if you were a person, for example, who used to have a ton of money and lost most of it in a divorce, this new moon reminds you that you can begin again. Your true identity is not as a broke divorcee. Your true identity is that if you built it once, you can build it again. You are a builder. Could you have gotten divorced a decade ago when you knew it wasn't working and you had less to lose? Maybe, but we can't go back. We can't undo that. No point dwelling there. Release that old story of the past and get on with building again. There are other ways to date these days than spending money, thank God. And you already know you have what it takes to build that type of wealth for yourself. Okay. If you're a person in your wisdom years who had a lot of success in your career, only to be downsized, right sized, laid off, told you're too old, your true identity isn't employed or unemployed or even unemployable. Your true identity is as an achiever, as a success. Could you maybe have evolved certain skills a little earlier? Could you have changed industries sooner? Maybe. But the past is unchangeable, so there's no use putting attention there. Take action today on your true identity. That you've achieved a lot in one place, now you'll achieve a lot in a new place. Stop feeding yourself the story, I'm too old and it's too late. Now, if you've beat a chronic illness twice in this lifetime, and now you just got diagnosed with that same thing a third time, your true identity is not the diagnosis. Your true identity is as a survivor and thriver. And the proof is in the truth of that track record. Could you have changed certain diet or lifestyle habits or participated in that experimental drug trial years ago? I don't know, maybe, but that door's closed now. If you've beat it before, you'll have to believe that you can beat it again. Speak that truth over yourself as many times as it takes now. You get the idea. This Chiron in Aries, the sign of selfhood and identity, trine full moon in Leo, the sign of sovereignty and self-creativity, gives us a chance for breakthrough if we can let go of our old identities and stories about who we used to be and create ourselves anew. Even if the thing that hurt us was yesterday, this is today. And today we get to be new people. We can have a new story about what hurt us and live in a new chapter in our lives based on what we learned from the last chapter. Now, if you need any guidance on writing a more empowering story for yourself in love, in money, career, or business, your chart has a lot of your answers. In a reading, we can look at highest possible outcomes, best case scenarios, and ways to overcome persistent patterns that have blocked you from living the life you want to live. My February calendar is open, and I'd love to chat with you about your next steps in this momentous year head over to kmoonastro.com now or click the link to my site below this video so you can book your session today. There are some other aspects supporting this full moon. Let's have a look at them. We have Mercury. Hooray for the end of Mercury retrograde and Sagittarius, finally. Out of the shadow, finally. Mercury conjunct Mars at the 15th degree of Capricorn there. We've got Mercury also speaking and being influenced by that Chiron influencing that Mercury-Mars conjunction. Uranus is also influencing that Mercury-Mars conjunction as well. We've got Juno, who is retrograde, trining that Mercury-Mars conjunction. And we've got a sextile here from Nessus, also playing a role influencing Mercury at this time. Now, remember, Mercury is consciousness, okay? A couple of weeks ago, I said to you guys, in the thick of Mercury retrograde, some things are going to become clear by the end of Mercury retrograde. Information will come out that will help you know which way to go in situations. Hold on any big decisions if you can until the end of January. Well, this is the time period in which things are clear and decisions can be made without concern that things will be murky or need to be redone. This is a great time for making decisions and taking actions on any major career or job moves, housing moves, and in partnerships. Decisions made in this energy have the potential to yield very quick results thanks to Mars and Uranus. That's going to move things forward expeditiously once you've actually made the decision. And when I say quick, let me be specific for you. I mean, like in the next 90 days kind of results and benefits. So there is not a minute to waste or lose in this energy. Like, don't put it off till February. Do it now so that things are already rolling by February. If there's a move you know you need to make, now's the time. There's so much supportive energy for decisive action leading to breakthroughs with Uranus in the mix here, and Chiron facilitating that wisdom that we need. We might be a little tender about some of these decisions. Nevertheless, it will help us to make them in the now time. Likewise, this Juno component encourages us, because she's retrograde, in many ways to relook at, if I need to make a decision about partnerships, is this partnership really aligned for who I am, where I'm going, and what I want to accomplish next? Okay, not what you've been through, what you want to accomplish next. Is this aligned for your next chapter? Okay. Let's talk about Venus. Here she is, having some really fun conversations at the moment. She's at that 2nd degree of Capricorn. She's receiving a sextile from Saturn and Pisces. Some astrologers really don't love Saturn and Venus. I do, because where Venus brings the connection, Saturn brings the stick and stay. People say that Saturn can block Venus or cause Venus to shut down or make it so that Venus can't express her love fully. I disagree. I feel like Saturn Venus connections, yes, have things unfold slowly, but it's because things unfold at a pace at which wholeness and integrity of both people is the priority. And so there's no whirlwind romance with Venus and Saturn. It is grounded, steady, stable. Frankly, in such tumultuous times, I don't think that's a bad thing. Some stick and stay is going to do us all a lot of good. That Venus is also receiving contact from a trine from Jupiter here, and a sextile from the creation goddess here in Scorpio. So Venus is not talking to Uranus just yet, but her higher octave, Juno, is. Both the love planet, that's Venus, and the commitment asteroid, that's our Juno, are out here working overtime because Saturn also likes integrity and boundaries and things having commitments. This little combination here is working overtime, bringing people together, y'all, and I love to see it. I got so many emails last week from clients that told me about shifts in their love lives, movement forward. One of my clients told me that the love of her life returned and that things have been better than they ever were after she followed the guidance in her chart and what it revealed. Yesterday, one of my clients told me she received a surprise proposal that came out of nowhere and was blurted out over text message from the man she's loved and who has been in and out of her life for several years after she used her access point to union in her chart for the last 6 months. And I just keep getting stories like this. Venus and Saturn at this angle do signal commitment. Juno at any angle, she's always about commitment, but Juno speaking in this way to Uranus, which brings surprises, can bring that commitment out of nowhere. And Venus will be speaking to Uranus soon, so that love energy can heighten up and ramp up. Jupiter expands whatever he touches, and presently he's expanding the Venus Saturn slow and steady full commitment vibes here. And the creation goddess is putting an end to old cycles in the sign of ending Scorpio. And on the rebirth side of scorpionic cycles in our love lives. Yay for rebirth. So this is some of the most positive energy for love, and I am so glad to see it and report on it. Frankly, in this energy, because Juno is retrograde and reviewing the past, creation goddess is in the sign that represents resurrections. There's a lot of ex returning kind of energy to this. There's a lot of Lazarus energy where things that you may have thought were truly dead and gone live again. One of the things I love about the beginning of 2024, which mirrors and gives us a second chance with the energy that began back in 2023, is that now through June will be some of the best energy for love I have seen since before 2020. Like literally the absolute most favorable energy for love connections, going to the next level in the third dimension. And I love that both Venus and Juno are in earth signs, making things real and concrete in the third dimension. Venus opening to stability in earth sign Capricorn, and Juno in earth sign Virgo, making sure we've dealt with the details. It's all just so positive and supportive for starting new chapters in love. Whether it's with somebody old or someone new, both look very supported at this time. Even those of you who thought love will never come for you again. You've met the love of your life, and that is it. Nothing else can happen. You're closed off to love. Even you might find something new in the first 6 months of 2024. And how fitting when full moons are completions and in the sign of self-sovereignty, completing cycles of singlehood and moving into partnership. Or if there's no one special just yet, seeding the ground for partnership at this time is a perfect way to use this energy. And by seeding, I mean using your access point for union in your chart, your access point for love, marriage, and commitment in your chart, following your chart's blueprint for manifesting and creating love. When I look back and I remember some of the very challenging energy for love and connection back in late 2021 and 2020, and the way decisions needed to get made at that time. And I encouraged you all, make tough decisions now. I promise you it'll be worth it. It all makes sense today, looking at this particular full moon and the full and the new moons to come as I've studied this year. It all makes sense to me that you would have had to have made those difficult decisions back then so that you could be free for this ramp up of romantic breakthrough astrological energy. We had a taste in 2022 that lasted the duration of Pisces season. Then again in early 2023 that lasted us from Aries and into Taurus season. And now, early 2024, that's going from Capricorn season to Aquarius season to Pisces season into Aries season, Taurus season, and Gemini season in late May. I am very inspired and very filled with hope. And I am constantly reminded, the more I study the astrology, how much divine order and orchestration is here, and how much God loves us and wants us to have love in our lives. When I see the astrology, we just need to step up and say yes. So if you want any support with this for your love life or otherwise, you know where to find me. I'm over at kmoonastro.com and look forward to speaking with you soon. Let's have a look at our next lunation, the new moon in Aquarius. Let's take a look at that together. All right, so this is our first look segment. If you're new, this is something I do at the end of every Lightworker Energy Update video. And I have a look at the way the new moon coming looks astrologically speaking and gives us an opportunity to see how the energy may evolve and, sneak peek at best ways to use it. So here is our new moon in Aquarius. I'm going to be honest, this is actually not my first look at this particular new moon. I've been looking at it for some time because I do think this may present as one of the most challenging new moons of this year for the level of transformation, growth, and change pressure that it's placing on all of us. And the reason why I think it is going to place some level of pressure, first of all, Aquarius is a sign that demands evolution, growth, quantum leaps forward in consciousness. It is similar to Aries in that it is always striving, but in the way Aquarius strives, it is always looking for expansion, growth, and movement that benefits not just itself, but the collective. With this particular new moon in Aquarius receiving difficult aspect from Uranus, and also receiving, let's see, it looks like we have some communication here. I think, okay, yes, Uranus, the ruling planet, that's the main one. We also have some communication from Vesta here. I think there may be some unexpected surprises, some things we didn't see coming when it comes to money. And chances are we saw it coming. We just this is kind of like the final shoe dropping or like, getting that final notice. Surprises in money, surprises in attachments, which could be any format of relationship or situation. You're like, we're all attached to our home and where we live. We tend to be attached to having a roof over our head, right? There could also be some surprises when it comes to groups of people and friendships that we're a part of. Intensity also shows itself here with Venus, Mars, and Pluto coming together at the last degrees of Capricorn, the first degree of Aquarius, where Pluto sits. Anytime Pluto and Mars get in some sort of communication of any angle, we can find at times the two of them don't always bring out the light side of each other. The dark side of Pluto is just kind of destruction. The dark side of Mars is warlike in many ways. That's how Mars got its reputation, was just through its dark side. In the light, Pluto is just all about the resurrection cycle, concrete endings, integration learning, new beginnings. It's all about that power to regenerate. And the light, Mars, is all about the ability to act, capacity to move. It is forward moving momentum. But when these two get in contact, sometimes they don't always bring out the best in one another. And there's a loose, very loose, it's not strong, but it's there. Square from Chiron, which can have people acting more from their woundedness rather than their wisdom. And so that creates an invitation for those of us who are here to bear love, here to share light with the rest of the world. There's an invitation for us to be the bigger person in such a way that allows the other person to get directed onto the path that they need to be on, and for us to be on the path that we need to be on without burning bridges in order to cross them, right? There do seem to be some sort of endings here and new beginnings, most likely probably in like friendships, or like I said, money seems to be something. Some of y'all could be paying off debt once and for all. Some of y'all could be taking on debt for the first time. Um, just be, I don't want to say the words gentle with yourself, but the best way I can describe it is um, we can already tell that there is a lot of, I think my client, Mylan, Star Thumbs, um, many of y'all have seen her in a lot of the programs I do. She put it this way, and it was very astute and articulate. She said, there's a lot of very intentional discord and chaos being sown into collective consciousness at this time. And she's not wrong. It is intentional, it is discordant, and it is chaotic. This particular energy adds to some of the freneticism of things internally for us. Again, for our benefit, it's to help us change where we have been stuck for way too long. And simultaneously, that doesn't necessarily mean, like change isn't always a skip in the park, right? So, um, take the change as it comes, right? Breathe. We're all going to need to breathe through this. Give yourself permission to be with your intense feelings and witness them for yourself, rather than making somebody else be responsible for the intensity of what you may be experiencing. Um, and yeah, we're all going to get through this together. I promise there will be a February 10th after this February 9th new moon in Aquarius. And there will be a February 11th and 12th. We will get through it together, but the intensity kind of peaks here. And then after we've kind of popped through the eye of the needle, um, there's a real set of upswing new and full moons after this, where things get much easier, much smoother, far less turbulent, much faster. But there's a real kind of like crescendo going on here, or a drum roll to final transformation. Final transformation being as we hit this February 9th new moon in Aquarius. So, like I said, breathe. Don't add anything extra to your plate that you don't have to. Life is going to serve us all up plenty to deal with as we go. I was joking with some friends on New Year's Eve. It wasn't New Year's Eve. We had gotten together just after New Year's, and they were like, "Hey, what is going on with the astrology? Like, it is frenetic out here. What is up with 2024? Like, if this is how we're starting, I am scared to get into February and March." I said, well, the theme of 2024, tongue in cheek, is going to be minding our own business, keeping your eyes on your own test. Um, and this particular new moon in Aquarius is going to give us all enough to deal with internally that there's just no need to externalize and participate in like gossip or like spread, you know, scandalizing news stories to people. Like, take the time to spread good news where you can. Hug your neighbors. Check on your friends you haven't heard from in a while. Make sure they're okay, right? And take it one step at a time, one thing at a time. Okay. And hopefully, I would love for me to be the catastrophizing one. And this just, it passes like a cakewalk. I would love for that to be the case where y'all are like, K-Moon, I don't know what you were talking about. That new moon in Aquarius was so easy. I would love for that to be the case. Just in case it's not, you have a heads up and now you know how to handle it. I will also say, y'all, Pluto, Mars, Venus together here is going to make for some steamy times. Just make sure y'all are being safe out here in these streets with y'all's bodies. That's all I'm going to say about that. Love you guys, and I will see you at this new moon in Aquarius. You know where to find me if you want to book a reading. kmoonastro.com. Link is below this video. Take great care, and bye for now.